So I've been talking about this for months, and I've actually been planning it for years. So I am super excited to finally reveal our aviary for the quail and the pigeon. I actually, they had it done about a month or so ago, but they, of course, had to do a lot of work in here and had to dig up a lot of stuff and dig up a lot of grass and stuff. So I had to plant some of that back. There's still some patches, and some of it was from me. I actually, there's invasive mint I was trying to kill off, and there's still a lot of that mint, surviving, but I did kill off a bunch of huge patches of it. And I planted back some clover and some grass, and so it's almost come back now, not quite, and I may do a little bit more reseeding later. But what we were dealing with before, if you're just now tuning in for the free range, we were dealing with literally pop-up tents, and it was a mess. The night before I put them in here, it had all been finished, and the night before I decided to put them in here, sadly, I was only about 5 or 10 minutes late putting them in their safe hutch at night. And a weasel had slipped underneath and killed everyone but this one quail and our pigeon. And so we had to start the flock over pretty much from scratch. So everybody else that you see in here is only about 3 or 4 weeks old, and that is our rooster right there, Nordic. He's really the only one that's full grown, but he's a standard. And the rest of these guys are actually going to be jumbos, except for that one pearl quail right there, which is the same color as color morph as Nordic. Just I think that one's going to be a female. So which is cool, because then we'll have one male, one female, and we may be able to even breed our own that way. That same color. And then the rest are either jumbo whites or Pharaoh, jumbo Pharaoh. So most people would say this is overkill. For maximum is going to be about 20 to 30 quail, and right now we only have 10 in here. But my whole idea was, how do I make them, because they're way too easy prey for things. So we needed something that had a roof on it, or hawks would get them. We needed something that was safe from predators. Almost everything eats them. They're not like chickens. They will never outgrow that size. They're never going to be bigger than a 6-week-old chicken. And that's a problem for a place like this out in the middle of nowhere that backs up to a nature preserve, which is way too many predators. So for that reason, they can't be free range. Also, they don't have a homing instinct. They wouldn't come home. They would get lost. So we needed something like this, and I just wanted it to be big enough to where they would really truly feel free. The chickens, they have 10 acres because they're big enough. I mean, sometimes stuff does get them, don't get me wrong, but they're big enough, that a lot of other predators that get the quail do not go after them. And they've got, a homing instinct, so they go home, they don't get lost. And these quail, most people that raise them just raise them in tiny, tiny little boxes, crammed in like sardines. An area like this big, would have, 5 or 6 levels on it, maybe 8 levels on it, and it would house thousands and thousands of quail. That's how most people would make the space for their quail, and to me that's just not fair. They do enjoy this. If they didn't enjoy this, they would stay in there the whole time and not come out. That's only for nighttime, and we actually have, it's for a safety reason, because a lot of predators that are night predators, like raccoons and things, could potentially get past this barrier. Foxes, stuff like that, could dig and get past this barrier. And if that was the case, we need something, predator safe. So we've got those locks so that coons can actually, it came with this, but coons can actually slide that themselves because they have opposable thumbs. I've actually had it happen, unfortunately, at least once. So, but during the day, they are free to go wherever they want to go, and they go all over the place, So, when I let them out in the morning, they are eager to get out. If they didn't appreciate freedom, they just wouldn't act like that. They're not mindless things with, no emotion. And people ought to, in my opinion, treat them a little bit more with dignity. Even if you're going to raise them for meat and slaughter them at 6 weeks when they hit butcher weight, you should still give them a good 6 weeks. In my opinion, it'd be better if you didn't butcher them the soonest possible and give them at least a little longer to live a good life, Get some eggs out of them and then butcher them maybe. And that way you win and they win, because you're getting the eggs and, But anyway, I still, most of these, unless they're really, really mean, they do not get butchered. They stay here. Even the roosters, if the hens stop laying, they stay here. Long as everybody's docile. We have the same rule for the chickens. So of course we can't have too many roosters per hens. And so what I do is just to make sure that I keep, the nicest ones. And I do have to do a little bit of thinning out. I do. But I'm doing it at a very, very minimal level, just so they won't fight. So we've got Quail Paradise here, but we've also got something that we did especially for our pigeon. And Thunder just loves those branches. When she's not hanging out with the quail, she's on the branches. All those branches are for her because the quail don't use them. The quail like to stay on the ground. So all of these branches that I actually found out in the woods, except for that old parrot thing that I had. I actually had it when I used to have pigeons inside, in a flight cage inside, and they would sit on that during the day. So we have that for her. We have, and her food and her seeds are up there. And she does eat slightly different food than the quail. The quail eat more layer and game food, and she eats more seeds. So that way she can still get what she wants, and they can still get the food that they're supposed to get. So yeah, they're just their roots, their branches, off of dead trees, and nothing fancy. All I did was treat them so that they wouldn't rot, and then had the guys put it in here. And she just absolutely adores them. First thing she did when I put her in here was get on a branch, and she just loved it. So if you haven't watched the other videos, we adopted her, kind of. She was a cull, an unwanted cull, and I found that she really didn't like other pigeons, but she loved the quail. So we used to have a couple other pigeons, but unfortunately they also got eaten by predators before we had this predator-resistant environment. Now this is the last thing, and it's awesome. It just rained, so it's kind of foggy, but when it's not raining, that is crystal clear. It's, just so that we have something that protects the hutches, and protects them from weathering and stuff. And it also gives the birds a bit bigger space to find shelter than just to, go in the hutch or go underneath the hutch. So We've got that only on the back half, not half, more like back fourth, and then the rest is just that mesh. We were dealing with that with those pop-up tents before this permanent solution. So this is the real free range. This is what I have been waiting for years. I've been planning it for years. I've been talking about it for months. It's finally here. I'm so excited, and so are the quail and the pigeon. I couldn't be happier. They couldn't be happier. The chickens are a little jealous, but again, don't let that fool you. They have 10 whole acres. They don't need this. Right now, half of it is curiosity, and half of it is they want me to give them treats. That's just how spoiled they are. They just expect it. Anytime I'm out here, that's what that has. So don't let those sad little faces fool you. They are just as loved. It's important to me that these guys, all these guys, are happy, because they're not just farm animals. They're also pets, you know. And even if they weren't pets, I would still give them dignity, because I think that's just morally the right thing to do.